College football is over, the NFL is winding down, and as we turn our attention to the ice and hardwood until Sunday, January 22nd, we are slashing NBA, college basketball, and NHL season passes from $4.59 all the way down to $2.99 with no coupon needed. This special price locks in your favorite handicappers in the sport of your choice through the championship for pennies on the dollar versus buying daily packages. And since the price will remain $2.99 through midnight on January 22nd, the earlier you buy, the more days you get included at no additional cost. How much are you saving? College basketball comes to just $3.55 per day through March Madness, and the NBA and NHL discounts come out to just under $60 per month to lock in your favorite handicapper through the finals or Stanley Cup. Go to your favorite handicappers page at Wager Talk and or Sports Memo and lock in your sports through the championship for only $2.99 each. If you want to combine handicappers or multiple sports, email us and we can work out an even more significant discount for you.
Hey guys, welcome back here to Wager Talk TV. This is Puck Time. We're hoping to bring some winners to you guys just like we did yesterday and have some fun along the way. Want to remind you guys at home that we have that special going on for the hockey packages plus playoffs is still going on for the next week. $299. You can get all the regular season plus the playoffs for $299. So take advantage of that while you can if you are interested in long-term packages. But as usual, guys, for today, we have 4 games, best bets at the end, and I'm sure some fun banter and all that stuff in between all the games. Today's games we're taking a look at, we have the Jets, Canadiens, Panthers, Leafs, Wild Capitals, and the nightcap with the Kraken and the Oilers going head-to-head. Should be a very fun show. Happy to have Don Buster here with us in his usual Tuesday spot. And, of course, my co-host, Carmine Bianco. What's up, Carm?
Not much, Andrew. Gotta say to you, man, congratulations. You caught a falling knife yesterday with the Tampa Bay Lightning. I think they're like minus 130, minus 135. I had that play as well, too. I think Buster did as well, too. But you caught a falling knife and win against the Seattle Kraken and their 7 or 8 game, whatever it was, win streak. Great win by you, man. Congrats on that one. 2-2 day for me overall, and a 5% play up in NHL tonight. So let's see if we can get another one. The only other one this year was in 2023, obviously, was the Florida Panthers plus 110 in Colorado. But guys, we got a really good show. We're going to do Winnipeg, Montreal, of course, Montreal. We're going to do Florida, Toronto, Minnesota, Washington, and then Seattle and Edmonton. I didn't mention on yesterday's show, but on the weekend, I think it was on Saturday, I got to see a bunch of my friends, Andrew. It was, we would have one annual tournament in January, a poker tournament. My friends plays 40 of us, and it is a great time. But the pandemic put an end to that one, of course, and stuff. People didn't want to get together, but we got together on Saturday. We had the game on. I'm watching the football games, and I get a message late in the evening from my friend Rob, who I'm going to, as you know, I'm going to Vegas with him. I'm going to see him on Wednesday. He told me that my favorite bar, and I think we have an image of it, get out the screen, Banana Bar, it almost burnt to the ground, Andrew, almost burnt to the ground on Saturday. This is in Puerto Vallarta, Mexico. I have no idea why this place almost burnt to the ground, but maybe Don Buster can tell me. Don, welcome to Tuesday's show.
I'll tell you right now, I'm going to apologize right off the bat because since Saturday, my voice has not been the best. And that's, again, like always, Carmine, shocking me, you guys, between you and Rob. I'm telling you, you don't let me know until the final day of that, when you were winning that quarter, that you and Rob were together on that. I was his partner last year. Obviously, he likes you as a partner better when you're winning $105,000. And then I had no idea this was coming up. And again, this is why I have no voice. And yes, I will tell you right now, shout out to Rob. And I want to shout out to Victor, to thank him for getting me and my buddy Dwayne home that night. It ended up being as, I'm not too proud of it. It ended up being a total shit show, as I had a lot, as everybody knows, my clients had LA as a big bet on Saturday, and there's not really much I can say. Truthfully, you must have known that I still haven't been able to get over it. I know you're supposed to hundreds and upward and everything else, but I don't know if I'll get over this for a while. I've been thinking about it steady. I know I can't do nothing about it. I know all the cliches, but and I know I've been doing this for 40 years, but this is one of the ones that sting.
Buster, listen, I'm busting in. Listen, a lot of us were on the Chargers on Saturday, and just watching that one was it literally just put a sour taste in my mouth as well too as anybody else who was on the Chargers. So I thought I would try and cheer up your day with that little image and stuff, but it's all good fun between us, man. I respect everything you do with your NFL plays. Especially. So it's just us having a little bit of fun to start the show before I throw it to Andrew, who steers the ship here.
Very good, Carmine. Very good. That caught me off guard. All I'm worried about is my voice because of that night. I lost my voice totally yesterday. I was worried that I wouldn't be able to come on here and do the show, but as always, I want to come on and try to do the best I can for everybody that watches and maybe give them some winners. So, yeah, it did bring a little smile, but it also brought back just a ton of pain, tell you the truth.
All right. Andrew, we're going to go back to you on this one and let you take it over. I will say one more thing before we get into the games. Yesterday, listen, the Ottawa Senators played a phenomenal game, I thought. They completely outplayed the St. Louis Blues. Outshot them, I think, 34-20 or something like that. Ultimately, a 2-1 game. They just couldn't score on Binnington. Binnington played phenomenal for the Blues. So, unfortunately, the banana in the tailpipe did not get there. I will get you another one, guys, that does win. So, my apologies there to you guys. Andrew?
Hey, we can't win them all, Carm. I thought it was a good angle. And, hey, once the pick is made, we can't control what they do out there on the ice. And, Buster, I have as much sympathy as you can imagine for your voice because 2 weeks ago I was in that exact same situation, just a little bit worse. And a little bit of screaming and a little bit of cervezas had something to do with it. So when you mix those two things together, it's not really a good combination usually. Let's jump into the game here, guys. Let's start with the Canadiens and the Winnipeg Jets here. Before the show started, I was not happy to get an alert on my phone about a couple different Montreal Canadiens players being headed off to the IR, which was not exciting, including Jake Evans and Uri Slafkovsky, of course, the number 1 overall pick. And this is what happens when you have a team that is already not very good, doesn't have great expectations, and their players start dropping like flies. Then you see it on the ice immediately. Montreal is plus 210. They probably should be bigger underdogs in this game. Winnipeg, minus 260, total at 6 here, guys. A couple days ago, Winnipeg actually passed the Vegas Golden Knights as the number 1 team in the West. And on the show yesterday, when I opened it and I talked with Carm, I said that, hey, I want to be better. I'm not happy with my start for the year. Doesn't mean I was bad. It doesn't mean I'm not having a good season. It's just I wasn't doing as well as I'd like to. You're very hard on yourself. Nobody's ever satisfied. But guys, I'm not happy for the amount of times that I've bet on Winnipeg because it's not very many. I have not included them that often in my my cards, my fantasy lineups, any of my props. I have not bet on the Winnipeg Jets enough this year. The problem is this number is only going to go up, and it's already at minus 260. Now, the fact of the matter is, like I said, with Montreal, they have, when the start of the year, they were upsetting teams that are competing in games, but that's when they had a full, healthy lineup. And I like to think I know this team pretty well. But now, when you've got guys just dropping like flies, you've got a different lineup every single night, all these different combinations are just getting injured. Defensive pairings, we're seeing injuries all over the place there. That is something that's very tough to deal with. I got to step out here, guys, and take a look at it. As much as I hate to do it, and take a look at the Winnipeg team total over 3.5 goals. I see this as a game that Winnipeg will just play consistent hockey. We'll get pucks deep on Montreal, create lots of chances, and I have a hard time not seeing goals in this game, potentially from both teams. But realistically, guys, if you're playing anything for the Montreal Canadiens, you might as well be looking at Kirby Dach, Nick Suzuki, or Cole Caulfield, because there's not really much offense coming from anybody else. But I believe, as Carm pointed out last week, and I'll go over to him right now, Pierre-Luc Dubois has certainly been a good shots on goal prop player. We had Andy point out about Josh Morrissey, how he's been someone getting quite a bit of points. So there's money to be made in the prop market in this game as well. Obviously, Carm, when you have a minus 260, we try and find different angles, especially you and I and Buster. We don't like to get into those high prices on the money lines, but there's different ways like team totals and props to approach these games. But how do you look at this game here, Carm?
Yeah, Andrew, and obviously the injuries are a concern for Montreal. Listen, they've been competing the last 5 games. I think they're 3-2 in those games, and against very good teams, knocking off the Preds, the Rangers, and the St. Louis Blues. So they've been competing, but as the injuries obviously continue to pile up, you start to worry about this team. The price is probably where it should be, although I thought it was pretty high to start with. We came into the season, I said, I have no idea what we're going to get out of this Winnipeg team. It looks like the same team as last year. What's the difference in this team? I hate to say it, but I'm going to harp on it. Paul Maurice, he's not there. He's in Florida. Rick Bowness has done a great job with this team. They are 8-1 their last 9. Teams playing well in the first month of the season is one thing. Teams playing well 2 months into the season. We're into January, and as you said, this team is 59 points atop the West. And it hasn't been because of scheduling. It hasn't been because of an easy schedule or not a lot of back-to-backs. This team has faced everything along the way, and they've got 59 points. They are a legitimate team and playing extremely well. Hellebuck, obviously, getting a majority of that. I'm not sure if it's going to be Allen and net tonight or not for Montreal, but just because he's still listed as questionable. So I'm not sure if either one of you guys knows anything on that. I can't lay the price. I would probably look at Montreal. I'm going to avoid, sorry, not Montreal. I would look at Winnipeg. I'm going to avoid the puck line here, even though it's like minus 1.5 even money, and likely go to Winnipeg in regulation time. You have to lay minus 140 on it. And that seems right play for a team that's playing extremely well and catches a Montreal team with an injury list that seems to be getting a little longer each week. So those are my thoughts here. Winnipeg in regulation for me. Buster?
Yeah, you're right, Carmine. Again, a little shocking that we're discussing Winnipeg or Montreal on a Tuesday here, but I know that's what you like to do. You're right, Carmine. Jets are playing probably their best hockey this season, winning 8 of last 9. And, it's too bad Montreal has these injuries now, too, because, you know what? They were playing a little bit better hockey. They'd won 3 of their last 5. They win in MSG the other night. So that's always, for a young team like Montreal, it's good for momentum. Not too sure they even want to be winning games. I'm not too sure if they can get to that Bedard, but how nice would he be on Montreal, Andrew? That'd be great. But, yeah, Winnipeg's just really good. I can't lay 250 with them. I'm not laying 210. Before the injuries, I actually thought maybe you never know. I would think this was going to be a lot tighter game now that those injuries and now that just the way Winnipeg's been playing. Again, what I might look at here is the under. I know, Andrew, you like the Winnipeg to score, and they probably will, but it might be 4-0, maybe 4-1. I don't know. As Winnipeg, they're have went 10-2 to the under their last 12, and now if you look on the road, they're 8-1 to the under in their last 9 road games. Oh, and guess what? Winnipeg have the 3rd best goals against in the NHL. They don't allow a lot of goals. They do play pretty good hockey. And when they have a team like Montreal, who they'll be able to shut down, I'm not too sure how many goals they score, only because the one thing we all know, and everybody probably in the chat and everybody watching this show, the one problem with Winnipeg and one thing that might hurt them come the playoffs is they sometimes have trouble scoring goals. So I'm going to look to the under here. I was looking a little bit as Montreal, maybe plus 1.5. But now with those injuries, I think your under might be the best play here because I think Montreal, even with the injuries, I think they're going to give them a game. They played earlier this year. It was 3-2 in Winnipeg. I think it went to overtime. So give me the under 6 here. I think that's the play.
Well, Buster, like you said, I'll be happy as a bettor, not a fan, if Winnipeg wins something around the ballpark of 4-1. How about that? That can be a good thing for both.
I'm good with
us.
that too.
I'll take that. Carmine will take that. And unfortunately, it's play hard, but tank for Bedard is the play for tonight, at least for the Montreal Canadiens. That's got to be the new motto, Buster. I wanted to bring it up
Andrew,
real quick because
go ahead.
Put out the driving stickers, the car stickers. Get those made up, Andrew.
Yeah. I got to patent that. But Andy mentioned the point guys and Carm. I know that I've talked about parlaying player points and stuff like that before. And Josh Morrissey now has hit 23 of his last 30 games with a point. That's 77%. And he's at minus 210 tonight. So on a Tuesday slate, when there's often so many games like we always have here, way more than just the 4 games that we talk about most of the time, there's quite a few guys that you can just grab on a different team. Austin Matthews, top players, Connor McDavid, this guy, that guy, and put these 2 players together, and all of a sudden you have like a minus 120 bet. And I think it's interesting to look at because, or even with these points, I mean, you can take a look at someone consistently scoring and be like, okay, maybe he is worth a minus 180 bet. And I know that some people might disagree with my opinion on that, but it is interesting to look at how defensemen, we've talked about it, Carmen, on the show, defenseman props sometimes are extremely profitable because, number one, the books don't notice those as much as they notice the forward points. And number two, they don't change them as much. I guess those two things kind of coincide, but I don't know. I thought it was a good point for him to bring that up. And you take a look at even Montreal, their defensemen have been having to, get a lot of shots on goal and create offense as well. So it's a new thing for me, Carm. Like you talked about Darnell Nurse last week, the guy has been at 2.5 for what? How long now? They're never gonna change him to 3.5, I don't think.
No, they're not. And it's sometimes, Andrew, we talk about it. It's finding players in those roles, like defensemen, against teams that allow a lot of shots on goal, like Anaheim. The Anaheim Ducks do, the Columbus Blue Jackets do. Pittsburgh played Anaheim yesterday and win that game 4-3 in overtime. And you look at those ones, and you had a lot of guys on the shot thing: Zucker, Smith, Rust, 4, 6, and 4 shots on goal. Reichel 4, Malkin 5, Friedman 4. There was a lot of guys that went over the number. If you're getting those 2.5s, and even the ones with 4 are guys that are at 3.5. So it's shopping around. But if you can get those defensive ones, and it's a player that is going to feature on the number 1 or number 2 units of the power play, it's that much more, because sometimes on a power play you can get, as you talked about on the previous week's show, you can get a couple shots from a defenseman on a power play, in a 2-minute power play, and you're pretty much there already. Yep. So it's one of those things you need to look at, but you don't want to take them in games against teams that just don't allow a lot of shots on goal, like the New Jersey Devils, like the Carolina Hurricanes. You've got to pick and choose your spots, but there are a lot of money-making opportunities, and you're completely dead on that, Andrew.
And it's kind of just what I see now. When I see a minus 260, my mind completely goes to props right away. I don't want to be involved in these big games. Let's jump into the next game here, Buster. We're going to go to you first. Here we have the Panthers and the Leafs. This is a Florida Panthers team where, if you're a quotes handicapper, if you're someone that even reads, some of these news articles and the blogs, you realize that the players started to recognize that they were not playing to their abilities. They're plus 140 currently against the Maple Leafs. Maple Leafs minus 170, total at 6.5. If you want the puck line on the Leafs, minus 1.5, it's plus 145. But after that Vegas game, Buster, we pretty much heard people saying, on the team, we know we're capable of. We're not playing to our standards. The answer is in this room. We got to come together collectively. You use the word cliche. That's pretty much exactly what those guys were doing. All the cliches were coming out. The fact of the matter is they just go ahead and beat Vancouver and Buffalo. Well, hey, do they want a pat on the back for those wins? I'm sorry, that's not enough if you're the Florida Panthers, the team that were the President's Trophy winners last season. This is the game that they should be in, or at least competing against, and yet they find themselves as plus 145 underdogs. What do you think here about the Florida Panthers, and what are your thoughts on this matchup, Buster?
Yeah, Andrew, Florida has played better of late, obviously. But problem, and we're going to talk about this in the next few games as well. The situational spot, back-to-back here for Florida. They're already 0-4, the last 4 back-to-back this year. Also for Florida, as you talked, it's the dreaded 3 games in 4 nights. For a team that has really struggled in these types of situations. And putting the fact, too, that I believe Bobrovsky, he played last night, so I don't think they put him in back-to-back tonight. I hadn't seen a confirmed starter yet, but I'm pretty sure he won't play either. So that's a big help to Toronto. Leafs have lost 2 games in a row. Now they're at home. They play much better at home, and they have 2 days off. I actually really like the Leafs here. Not going to lay 170, 180, though. I just can't do that. I would tend to want they're a pick in regulation, so I like that. I like that play, actually. As for the total, kind of like it over here. The over's 4-1 the last 5, with Florida not having any rest. The over's 5-1 the last 7 meetings between these clubs. And I just want to add a few more reasons why I've already put out Toronto in regulation to everybody, to my clients. Florida, 1-8, last 9 in Toronto. And Florida also as a surprise, we could let's maybe all agree that they should be maybe an elite club or up there with the elite clubs. They're not that good on the road. And if you want to be elite in this NHL, you need to be good on the road. They're 10-14-1 on the road, and that's with the win in Buffalo last night. Give me the Leafs here in this one in regulation. Can't lay that big number, though.
I'm with you. Buster looking towards the Maple Leafs here in this game. They're playing at home in Carm's neck of the woods, which used to be Buster's neck of the woods, sort of. But he's flying with the birds. He's going down to somewhere warm. He doesn't want to stick around with the cold like us, Carm. Too good for that. But what do you think? I mean, one team's off 2 losses, one team's off 2 wins here. What do you think, Carm?
Yeah, he's drinking cervezas and burning down bars in Mexico. It's okay. We had freezing rain up here, but and when you look at the goalies on this one, and it was Bobrovsky yesterday for them. Spencer Knight was put on the IR. They called up from their AHL affiliate in Charlotte. They called up Alex Lyon, and he could very well get the start tonight in this one. It'll be his first start of the season. We remember Alex Lyon from, I think, his time with the Philadelphia Flyers, where it seemed like he was an automatic fade, automatic over. I like the Leafs team total here. It's 3.5 minus 120. I think you look at that game against the Sabres yesterday, and the Sabres sleepwalked through the first 30 minutes of that game. The last 30 minutes, I thought they were the better team. If they could have got a second goal when they made it 3-1 in the third period, if they could have got the second goal and they had chances, they very well could have got something out of that game. But ultimately, Florida empty netter for a 1 win. But the second of a back-to-back for this team. We keep thinking, of Florida of last season, the team that won the President's Trophy. This team this year, they're on the outside looking in, and they're playing better. But this team has 20 regulation wins, 20 regulation losses. Look at any of the teams in the East that are above them. They're nowhere close to that. This team is feast or famine in regulation time, and they're just not playing well. I can harp on forever the fact that it is their coaching. I just don't think they're getting the coaching. I'm just not a fan of Paul Maurice. I think the Leafs get it done tonight. It's tough to lay this type of number. You can take the Leafs in regulation time if you want. I'm going to go with team total. Take the Leafs over 3.5. They get the 4. We get the win. It doesn't matter after that what happens in the game. Leafs team total for me.
When I take a look at this game, I think, Carm, I feel like I'm almost getting called out by what you just said, because I started off the segment by saying the former President's Trophy winner. So I get it. I mean, this is a team that definitely isn't the team they once were. And you're right. We have to stop thinking that they are potentially that team. But, as much as I've said lately, I don't believe in the strength of schedules. I've also, look, I haven't been taking teams as serious when I see them off a pair of wins against teams that they should beat. Wins are wins, gather confidence. If some team won like 7 games and 5 of them were against below 500 opponents, I would still say good for them. That's still 7 wins in a row. But in a short-term span, I don't really congratulate teams on wins. We've got a Maple Leafs team off a loss against the Boston Bruins. That's a team that everybody loses to. Maybe not Seattle a few days ago, but everybody loses to them. That's kind of the way I look at it.
And Andrew, listen, here's the thing is, and no, I wasn't calling you out. I already had what I was going to discuss as far as this game.
I know.
And the thing is, I wanted to say, Florida's playing better. But when you look at it, like even if you take the sample of their last 10 games, they've gone 6-4 their last 10 games, and their wins are against the Montreal Canadiens, the Arizona Coyotes, the Buffalo Sabres, the Vancouver Canucks, the Detroit Red Wings, and then the only one you can call possibly a signature win is against the Colorado Avalanche in Colorado, and that was the game in which I released Florida as a 5% play. So I get you can only bet or beat who they put in front of you. But as far as turning a corner, I don't think they've turned the corner, even with these 2 wins, as you said, and I think correctly so. Do they want a pat on the back? No, they've got to go in and beat a team like Toronto tonight, let's say, who are healthy. Matthews is back in the lineup. This team is healthy, and who are probably chomping at the bit after coming off back-to-back losses against the Detroit Red Wings and the Boston Bruins. So we'll see what medal they have tonight as far as putting forth the performance. But I think it gets a little tougher because they're probably looking, if it is Alex Lyon in goal tonight for the Florida Panthers, they're probably going to look to play a more defensive game, try and protect them in goal as well, too. And it doesn't bode well when you change your game up that way. So I just can't see. It could happen. Anything could happen on any given night. I can't see how they get past the Leafs tonight.
And before we move on, just to make it clear, I do have a play on this game, and my play is the Florida Panthers team total under 2.5 goals at plus 110. So we're all kind of around all over the place, but we all pretty much have the same type of bets. In a sense, we all want a solid victory for the Leafs, I think. So we'll hopefully get that. We'll take that, and I got to give respect to the Maple Leafs and their defensive ability, especially when they're off 2 games they probably won't be too happy about. Now they're playing at home. I actually do think they can lock things down and keep Florida to just 2 goals. And as I said at the start of the show, guys, this year, especially in the second half of the season, a big thing for me is finding these nice prices. If I do a 1-in-1 split on my client card, I don't want to be losing a bunch of juice, Playing these plus 110s is really nice as far as that, and that's just how I feel. So, Carm, I'm going to go to you for the next game. Let's talk about the Wild and Washington Capitals. Look, I was lucky to have my best bet win yesterday on the Washington Capitals. They were down 3-0. They come back. But in sports, we talk about momentum, how important that can be for a team and the chemistry in the locker room. I think it's a huge deal, when you've got a team that's struggling to score and then you lose to the Flyers twice. You go down 3-0 yesterday against the Isles, and then now you got to play the next day. Some might say it's beneficial. Some might say a back-to-back against a good Minnesota team like this is not really a good idea. What are your thoughts here on this one, and as far as the back-to-back is concerned?
Yeah, I'm going to make this a quick one before I go to Buster, because I took a lot of time on the last game. I was like the old man yelling at the clouds in this one, in that last game. But Andrew, I'm leaning under here. It right now looks like it's going to be Gustafsson and Lindgren in goal. Oh my God, he's got the old man yelling at the clouds picture up there. Yeah, that is me, the old man yelling at the clouds. Oh, thank God our production crew is absolutely fantastic. Way to go, Will, on that one. Gustafsson and Lindgren in goal. And Andrew, listen, I've harped all season that Minnesota is playing extremely well defensively. I love the way this team is playing defensively. Gustafsson is 10-6-1, 2.17 goals against average, 9.25 save percentage, and 8 of his last 9 starts, the final total has ended at 6 or fewer goals in those games. And you look at Lindgren, and he's the perfect goalie to have in the second of a back-to-back. He's allowed 3 or fewer goals in his last 12 games, or last 12 starts. And of those 12 starts, 9 of those games had 2 or fewer goals allowed by him. They play well defensively with this guy in net. The totals here is at 6. I wish it was 6.5, but you're never going to get that. Under 6 for me in this one. Buster?
Yeah, you know what, Carmine, I can't disagree with you there, and I will give a whole bunch of stats to maybe back that under up for you too in a second here. I like the Wild, even though I know they've struggled with this Capitals club. They've only won 3 of the last 12 meetings between them, but that's the only thing that goes against them in this handicap, if you ask me. Washington back-to-back, and the game last night was super, super tough, and they won in overtime. This will be also that dreaded 3 in the 4 nights for Washington, right? So, and Washington, they're 1-5 last 6 with no rest. Again, they just don't play well on back-to-backs. I like that Minnesota has had a couple of days off as well. Let's go back and talk to you about your under, Carmine. I like it under as well. It actually screams under. 8-1-1 the last 10 in Washington with these guys. Minnesota has been, as you had talked about, Carmine, they've been a dead under club. Last 16 games are 11-4-1 to the under. And how about when Washington plays in a situational spot of that dreaded 3 in the 4 that I just talked about? The under's a perfect 7-0. But with the under, as you said, you wish it was 6.5. For no, we're not going to get that. The under 6. But you know what? I might even like Minnesota more. That game yesterday, I think, is going to take its toll. With Washington struggling in these situations, I just want to even talk about just quickly when that game yesterday. This is how tough it was going to be. And Washington's one of the oldest clubs in the NHL. They had 75 hits in that game yesterday between the two clubs. They were just going after each other nonstop. You know that at Buffalo and Florida's a team on a back-to-back. That game, there's 40 hits. That just goes to show you. I think it's a really bad spot for Washington here. You're laying a small price with Minnesota. Really like Minnesota here, and I don't know how you can't like the under as well.
Yeah, and for me, I don't have an official play on this game, but I think I would lean towards Minnesota too, especially at the price, guys. I just think in general it's a good price for Minnesota, you know, and I think it's a really good point you raised, Buster, because it's kind of the other end of the stick. It's does Washington create momentum from yesterday's game, or are they just tired as hell after having to battle back and just scrape some type of pride together after losing to Philly twice and then playing that game? Minnesota might just be well rested, hanging out, waiting, and just they probably were hoping for the Capitals to be involved in a mess of a game like that. It makes life easier for them tonight. So I think I would lean to Minnesota. Not sure if I'll get there, but that's definitely where I would put my money if I was laying it down. Last game here before Best Bets, Buster, going to go right back to you. Seattle and Edmonton going head-to-head here. As mentioned at the start of the show, I did fade Seattle after their road trip. You did as well. Carm did. This is a team that was on a huge run, but they're in a tough situation. They go back home, play an early start game, Seattle time. And now you take a look at this game here. They got to go on the road, play Edmonton as plus 155 dogs, Edmonton minus 185, total at 6.5. And I'll tell you what, this is a team right now in Edmonton that might be turning the corner, Buster, might be making that little bit of a sharp turn to playing consistent hockey. We'll find out, but it's been the Connor show. It's been the Leon show. We know that, but are they more than that right now? Are they better than that? And do they deserve this minus 185? I'm curious what your thoughts are on this one.
Well, Andrew, truthfully, I don't think they'll ever turn that corner as long as they have the goaltending that they have, even though Skinner has played all right for them, but you're not going to trust him in the playoffs. But they have the big dogs out there, the guys that can score. And sometimes in this league, you can outscore teams. I do like Edmonton here myself, but I'm not laying that kind of number. Just can't do it. That's for sure. And Seattle just won here 2 weeks ago. I don't know if it was on our list of games. I'm pretty sure it was a Tuesday. They just beat them here 5-2. But today's going to be much different. I tell you, the scheduler must really had a hate for Seattle here. That's for sure. Like you just mentioned. Yeah. They just came off a 7-game road trip as well. But they have been playing really well, right? But now here we go. I've mentioned it there's a lot of bad scheduling spots for teams. And that's when I usually take advantage of these situations. Here's another back-to-back, and now they got to go on the road too. That's terrible. They have to travel, and the dreaded 3 games in 4 nights. Again, they played that 7-game road trip. Now they're playing here. Just a brutal spot in my opinion for the Kraken. But as you said, Andrew, has Edmonton turned the corner? Can you trust them? Can you maybe Seattle still, even with all the tired legs and everything, I just can't lay that. Just can't lay that price. Last time they played over the 6.5. It was 4-2 all through the second period. Then they end up scoring an empty net to get that thing over. But when these two teams do get together, they're 5-0 to the over. So but 6.5, you're laying a ton of juice. This is one of the toughest games on the schedule, even though I really, really like Edmonton. It's tough for me. It might not be tough for guys like Brian Leonard and Ralph who go out and pick those big dogs. I just personally can't lay anything over. I was hoping it'd come to 160. I might actually lay that. But usually, that I